personal views and opinions expressed by our podcast guests are their own and are not legal advice or official statements by their organizations. Hello, my name is Debbie Reynolds. They call me the Data Diva. This is the Data Diva Talks Privacy podcast, where we discuss data privacy issues with industry leaders around the world with information that businesses need to know now. I have a very special guest on the show, all the way from India, Debesh Choudhury, Ph.D. He's an information security researcher. Welcome.
Hi, thank you, Debbie. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, I'm excited to have you on the show. I love the things that you write. I see you're a podcaster as well with your own show, and you really dig deep on data issues, information security issues. So I would love for you to introduce yourself and give us an idea of your career trajectory. How did you get to where you are right now?
Thank you. I presently am focused on information security, but I came to information security after working in various fields. When I did my master's, so I went for pursuing a doctoral research, Ph.D. So that was in holography, three-dimensional image processing, and a little bit of optical techniques, which are also having relevance in security applications such as privacy protection and other things. So after completing my PhD, I joined a defense research lab in Government of India as a scientist. There I worked on development of electro-optical instrumentation, such as night vision devices, etc. And after that, I went for a postdoctoral research in Japan, the University of Electrocommunications during 2000 to 2002. There I worked on a project focused on wavefront sensing. Wavefront means, say, we see the light waves which are coming to our eyes and the sensors. So what is the shape of the wave? So that basically tells about the quality of the image. So that I did, and there I also did some work on three-dimensional target recognition as a, you can say, a interest I found from a colleague who was working in a different lab. So my professor permitted me, and I also worked on experiment on three-dimensional target recognition using print projection, like whatever you see in Apple's iPhone, that 3D Face ID, that also works on the similar principle that in Apple phone, they project invisible wavelength of light, a structured light pattern on human face, and gather the information and give a recognition. So that type of thing I did for different three-dimensional objects. So after returning, I joined back my work and continued my regular work of electro-optical instrumentation. Besides that, I also pursued interest in three-dimensional target recognition and applied it to three-dimensional human face recognition. That is long ago. I started in 2003. You can say Apple actually introduced that technique in 2000, probably 16, with the iPhone. And that was earlier, but we did not consider that for going for a commercial application. And I was a little bit frustrated about the tolerance of biometrics, like the face recognition. I also mixed up the modalities like face and fingerprint so that the target recognition is more robust and more strong, increase the strength of performance. But still, I found that it is not giving the result because it is not deterministic. So after doing a lot of research, I presented papers in privacy protected human face recognition in China and also in the US, in Baltimore. There is a conference, Defense and Security, from SPIE. So I understood that it is not a technique which gives a result that can be utilized for authentication in, say, application like banking. And we need a deterministic answer, yes or no. So in 2019, I had interaction with Hitoshi Kokumai. And because of my connection of Japan, lot many years, so we get along quite well. And I explored their technique and I introduced myself like as a learner of authentication using graphical images. That is what So that is my present interest. And in every occasion when I write about security, especially authentication techniques, I see many post advertisements about biometric because of my real hands on experiments. So I am convinced that it is not going to give the result which is required for such authentications. And they're proposing to apply it, say, for banking and other things. And to tell you, without naming companies, big companies, they request me to say some remarks on their face recognition improvement, and it is a paid thing, of course, but I did not agree. I don't agree every time because I know that it is a problem, and it is not actually money. It is a true requirement of something which the human society as a whole, I mean, throughout the world, banking is a very important thing. And if biometrics is made a default password, then it will be very, very problematic. And whenever any bank tried it, the very first day they tried it, it is broken and it is giving problem. And presently, I'm also trying to use that image also to say in the cryptocurrency domain, people require to protect their private keys. Once you lose the private key, you lose all the cryptocurrency assets. So I'm also trying to develop techniques, say using image, graphical images, if we can protect and preserve private keys of application, not only cryptocurrency, any other blockchain based techniques. Because in decentralized application, all the blockchain methods, there is a inherent issue. It is not issue, it is their trait. Like private key once lost is lost forever. It cannot be reset or regenerated because it is decentralized, and that is their particular property why they are saying that it is very strong. So that work also I'm doing, and of course some paper presentation also was done in a conference in US in 2022. I have a collaborator in USA in a university professor. So you can see the technology interest. And because I also taught in university as a professor, after quitting the defense job, I worked from 2007 to 2017. I worked as a professor of electronics and communication engineering. And I took interest of mentoring students, especially the young students and high school students, for taking a path which is correct. Like always there is hype. There is a hype of artificial intelligence. There is a hype. There was a hype and still a hype of biometrics and many other technologies. Even today in the morning, I visited a high school in Kolkata, a very big top high school, very big. It's like a factory. How many students I don't know. I have seen full of buses on side of the school, and they have to introduce a lab for robotics and artificial intelligence, because from the board and worldwide also there is a introduction, and it is some sort of, you can say, governments are also having some obligation. I should not say directly political, but techno-political obligation of accepting the hyped technologies, such as firstly it was blockchain. And blockchain is good, but they made it a hype that blockchain means everything is good, means you can do anything with blockchain. And then came biometrics is a pervasive thing, and they are saying that biometrics had got this much of, say, 144 billion of investment. And investment actually doesn't prove the authenticity of the technique. Investors always invest because they think that there is a potential of market business, so they invest. But investment doesn't actually prove whether the technique is foolproof or problematic. So I have told a lot many things. Please ask if you have any other questions from here or any other place.
Yes, I do have a question, and I would love for you to expound upon what you said, which is true, which is that biometrics are not deterministic. So I think the problem that we have with a lot of people who are selling this technology, they're selling it as though it's, very accurate, foolproof. You don't need other types of ways to verify or authenticate people. And that's just not true. So explain for the audience the ways in which biometrics are not deterministic.
Yes. Firstly, biometrics recognition depends on comparing the biometrics trait digitally with software, and biometrics traits are always changing. Number one, it is changing, and number one, it depends on how it is captured. Say, now looking at the camera, and they say that you put fingerprint or face on the camera, and every time the camera captures images, say dynamically also it is changing. So the pixel values changes, the illumination changes, many things changes. While pursuing PhD, as I mentioned, that there is optical security. So there were a lot many techniques. One professor, I don't want to name, he was also in the committee of US presidential defense security, like homeland security. So he did a very initial work on optical security. And after that, there are many applications. They say that biometrics, it can be tolerated, like it is rotation invariant. It is illumination invariant. It is a scale invariant, size. Like I'm here, I'm coming closer to the camera, many things. And now I understand that all these tolerances, they developed, all the researchers worldwide. And innumerable research papers published in peer-reviewed journal, I mean, impact journals and conferences also they are presented. And there were a lot many investment made during these researches, like say from the Department of Defense in US and other countries. So these huge amount of money is spent to develop techniques which will help the criminals. See, when it is tolerance means, say recently in India, in the digital identity project, they call it Aadhaar. So in Aadhaar, they have attached a Aadhaar enabled payment system using fingerprint. And all banks must use Aadhaar enabled payment system. That is a irony. I mean, I don't know why. And the one of the biggest banks, State Bank of India, they wrote in 2017 to Aadhaar that we don't want to put Aadhaar enabled payment system in our application. But Aadhaar replied to State Bank of India that it is mandatory because they have made a government act. So that means they have opened a window for the criminals. Now, every month, every day, there are cash transactions using fingerprint spoofs in India. And all poor people, like say they have in their account only say meagerly 10,000 Indian rupees. And at a time, 30,000 Indian rupees they can withdraw using other enabled payment system. So they are going. So that means all these developments, say tolerated tolerances and improvements of the biometrics recognition techniques actually indirectly help the criminals to utilize it to enter, break the authentication system security and make say banking transactions like in example of here in India. So that means spoofs are very easily to make. One point is there, and another point is that it is tolerance. So that means spoofs are not very correct, and it works on the principle of tolerance. When you say that face recognition is giving me entry, so it is having a scale invariance, illumination invariance, and many other things. So people can use spoofs like say in Apple's 3D Face ID, one company, one bank in Singapore in 2017, they tried. Just they introduced, and there are huge reports from security researchers that they can use a face mask and break. Even say a son and daughter or son and mother are similar looking, they also can break that 3D Face ID. And three-dimensional face recognition now being projected as the very improved thing, and almost every couple of months I'm getting requests that please verify our thing and give a comment. So I don't give. And even recently I got a hybrid job from Europe for being a advisory of biometrics, but I am not doing it because I tested the steps. And even say NIST standards, there are references, it is mentioned. It is review of several professors of US university. It is mentioned that there are inherent these probabilistic issues. Issues means it is a trait, it is natural. Nobody can actually get away from the probabilistic processing of biometrics security. That is a problem.
Yeah, and I'm very concerned. This is the area that I talk about a lot, especially because these systems work very poorly on people of color, very poorly. And some of the things you were talking about, the NIST research, a lot of their research into these biometric tools, they're using photographs from driver's license bureaus and things like that. Like those are very clear pictures, good light, and stuff like that. So it doesn't really apply to situations where the light isn't as good. A lot of times they're trying to use this as evidence in cases, and there have been situations where people have been falsely accused. and arrested as a result of the use of biometrics because I think some people assume wrongly these technologies are infallible and then they misuse them in bad ways. One way that I've seen biometrics work best if you use it at all. And actually, to your point about the Face ID, my sister's face can unlock her daughter's phone.
Yes,
So,
yes.
yeah, we tested that out. But one way that I've seen it work best is when someone has a clear picture of someone and then they try to match it with a current picture of that person. So, to me, I think that's a pretty good use of it where I feel like some of these other uses, like they're trying to create databases of people and then they're trying to match them and they're not the same. And especially if they're darker skin, it's just terrible. What are your thoughts?
Illumination, color, yes, many things. And another point is that the graphical techniques we mentioned that actually depends on a particular image. Say if one pixel is changed means is password change. So here we are not using image recognition. It is actually the image is converted to a very complex long text. And okay, in man in the middle attack is possible, and I actually talked to many other network security professionals. So they told that the man in the middle attack is a very, very, very highly not impossible. And in our technique, we are utilizing, say, a different forms of combination of different images. And if somebody also guesses the image and particular picture is changed, means like somebody creates the same image or got it from a different source, and say even you save the image, just save like imaging software, you save as and give a different name. So it processes in the software. So the pixel values changes. Our eyes cannot make out, but in that technique it will be. So that means when a graphical image is touched, means security is gone. So that is very, very sensitive and highly accurate, deterministic.
Right. So it changes the hash value.
Yes, it changes the hash, of course, yes. And it is a simple technique
Yeah, very simple.
that all security is depending on hash. They can try to improve complex hashes, like different quality of hashes, and improve the strength. And till that RSA, whatever that technique are being utilized for banking and other things, they are actually waiting. Of course, there are guesses about, say, when quantum computer comes, what will happen. And they can regenerate the text by, say, the computer is fast, so they can try to regenerate it. But that also we discussed an image regeneration, and I'm also trying to say make a conversion from text to image. So that was in research. It is not possible, like because hash is not a reversible process.
Right.
So it is under a research. Image to text, so and again text to image.
That's fascinating.
One paper we presented in T22 in SBI conference, but it is not what we want.
Yeah. I saw a story recently. This is about voice recognition, the biometric, where some bank somewhere, I don't know why they did this, they were using voice as their only factor
Yes.
for authentication. And obviously it was spoofed. It's very easy to spoof voice, actually. And then they were upset that someone broke into people's accounts and stuff. First of all, is as you say, it's not deterministic. That's first thing. Second thing is it definitely shouldn't be your only factor.
It cannot be.
If you're going to use it, you need to use multiple factors, right?
Yes, yes, yes. And people actually should dedicate time to develop techniques which are quantum proof, like quantum computing proof, and should improve the text-based passwords, whatever is existing. They should try some algorithm and change something different so that it cannot be broken by quantum computer. Although a meaningful general purpose quantum computer is far away, maybe we cannot see in our lifetime, but someday it could be.
Yeah. Let's talk about deep fakes. Deep fakes are the next level of deception that we're dealing with AI, and it's coming rapidly.
Yes,
I feel like we weren't paying attention to deep fakes while it was developing, and now it's a huge problem. But
yes.
there was a story in the news about someone being on a video call with people that they thought were their coworkers, and they were convinced to transfer a lot of money. I think it came out to up to like 20 million US dollars. This actually happened in Hong Kong, I believe. So a lot of the rage on the internet is about the person being fooled by deepfake technologies. What are your thoughts?
Yes, deepfake is a concern, and actually, it should be the research should be how to detect deepfakes. Like whether it is a deepfake or it is real, to detect that type of research should be done. And deepfake, of course, it is fun, like say for creating animated movies, and even in the movie industry, they'll be having many complex things say solved by deepfakes. Say some celebrity actor is not available, say after some work, they may try to put, I mean, I don't know whether it is already had been used, say another date they cannot try for that, and maybe say few seconds they want to make some change, so they probably try deep fakes, and a star cannot refuse, even he or she knows. It is not a financial that way problem, but of course financial, because indirectly that additional time the star gives to the producer, it could have given them some earning, which probably would be problem solved by deepfakes by that. Otherwise, deepfake, it is also giving problem to people when say in political scenario also. It can be temporarily during the vote, before people can get to know that it is a deep fake, just prior to the date of voting, something very abnormal come from the mouth of the candidate, and people watch it, and the vote, it was affected in the vote, and nothing can be done, I mean, afterwards. It is a very complex scenario. So impact of artificial intelligence is severe than we can guess. Day by day, they are saying that ChatGPT can entertain people, it can enable people to create a billion-dollar business and many other things, but they don't consider when their company will be under threat using AI, so how they will combat.
Yes.
Every company will be combating themselves and using AI and the competitive market. And another thing, say AI generated content. I just had interacted on contents by Robert Cialdini, that father of influence. So if AI generated contents give marketing that easily, business, then these people would not have existed. And I have seen that a particular word changing, that digital marketing engagement changes, and that particular word is coming from a human thinking, and that artificial intelligence cannot create that type of pitch for marketing. It is very simple, but it is for a computer, I think it is very complex to generate, to reproduce.
The thing that concerns me, well, I'm obviously very concerned about deepfakes, but I know that people, well, like governments, want companies to try to find ways to tag or flag something that's a deepfake. And I think the issue I find there, and I want your thoughts, it's like, let's say you had a system that created a deep fake. Maybe they could put something in the metadata, or maybe they can put some type of maybe watermark that's invisible or something on a video. And then that way, depending on where it's shown, I guess it would need some type of system to read it, right? Let's say someone created a deep fake video and it was not in a system. It was exported, just like you said, the save as. Saved as something, a file that's just kind of free floating, you would need a system to read that. So how would a normal person read that? What are your thoughts?
No, it is, the situation is complex. It is for normal person, say as a normal person, I also get fun when it is shown that artificial intelligence generates so many interesting things, like a statue, a old statue, or a blinking of Mona Lisa. But in reality, when it comes to a human being, say affect which affects our own family, then it is beyond imagination what people will think, that somebody's daughter, somebody's father, mother, or somebody is projected using deepfakes, and their entire family gets affected. That is some concern people who are earning and who are pushing AI, for even it is not required. All the startups are trying to adopt AI because there is a pressure. Like in their website, if they cannot put that buzzword that their algorithm, their things are AI supported, then probably they think that the market will be lost. But in reality, my personal thinking, a very novice one, of course, even say big company like Microsoft, they will lose everything, almost everything because of AI. Because they are putting everything on AI. Say if AI is lost, they are in nowhere. See, when Microsoft told Linux is a cancer, how many years they told Linux is a cancer? Bill Gates and his longest time CEO, I forgot his name, he told that Linux is a cancer. And now their main revenue earning business, Azure Cloud, is using Linux, and it is more than 65% of the users are using Linux instead of Windows. They thought that, and now they are trying to purchase Linux by money, but they are becoming the platinum sponsor of the Linux Foundation and trying to vote, and maybe they are trying to just take control. They purchased a GIT hub. They are actually in threat. In the say the government orders are being driven everywhere and the citizens are not accepting it. What the governments can do? They cannot do anything. They are saying that you have to take this, you have to do this. And when people understood that this is a false, fake things, then they will not do it. After say 1, 2, 3 years, they will not do it. Even say for the pandemic, now people are immune to any type of that type of disease because that fear has gone. It was a bad thing economically and many other way. But a good thing is that people understood, realized because of that bad experiments that what is true and what is not. So that will come out. Long run, it will come out. Maybe we'll not be there, but nature will clean the system. So somebody told me that why are you saying that biometrics is bad? When computer came, people thought that we'll not use computer, but now everybody is using computer. But that cannot be compared. Like computer is a general purpose utility, and biometrics is a special trait they are portraying as a better thing for a particular application, financial application. So that they have to consider.
Now, what is happening in the world right now in privacy that's concerning you most?
Yes, privacy. There are so many conferences, and recently in India, a very special institute, Indian Statistical Institute, they got a conference organization. Like there is a conference called Indian Conference on Pattern Recognition (ICPR), and it is a very prestigious conference. And institutes bid for taking a organizer as an organizer, but it is difficult. I mean, after say 2, 3 times bidding, some people get it. So here they got it this time. And I'm amazed that out of the 4 tracks of Indian Conference on, I mean, International Conference on Pattern Recognition, ICPR, one track is biometrics. And it is such a derogative, like they are actually opening because biometrics investment is huge. They are getting sponsors. That is why they have opened a track biometrics and its application. What is there to improve in biometrics, and it has to be included in a conference like ICPR. That is a big thing. I mean, I don't understand. Maybe I will submit some paper on some other applications. My paper will be rejected. That I'll not be unhappy. But I'm unhappy that something it take a track a subject which is having several issues. They are projecting it to the academicians, to the young researchers that you work on here. That is very, very disheartening.
I feel like sometimes the part of this advocacy is for people who aren't impacted negatively by these types of technologies. What are your thoughts?
Yes, people are affected by technologies, and say people lost jobs for AI. That is true. Many people lost jobs for AI. The technology is coming that cannot be stopped, and the research should be carried out. Say, I will use artificial intelligence for some job which it does very nicely. Say, I've given an example in one post that that is a photograph of a mass concert, of a big concert, and from far there is a photograph of the crowd. So artificial intelligence can very easily guess the number of heads in that. So that type of application is good. I mean, we cannot do it without using other techniques so nicely. I mean, it is very approximate and a good one. Say for biometrics, the police can utilize biometrics as an additional information to get to know about the idea whether it can be a criminal or cannot be a criminal. But they cannot deterministically say fingerprint match means this person is that. I mean, though in the courts it is accepted still now, but it should not be that way. And artificial intelligence research should be done, should be continued, and should be utilized. The application should be found out which has some real improvement. When I was in Japan, I asked my professor, shall I use some neural network here? So at that time, he was laughing. He told that in neural networks, you will get so many data, and most of the time it will be useless. Utilize the infrastructure, the computation, and other things to do that. And after that, you will find that this learning technique will not give anything. And that way, artificial intelligence requires a lot of resources for like computing power, data storage, big data, as they're saying that. And people will not bother because the data storage and the computational power are increasing. But these could be utilized, like say the electrical energy which are being consumed. Say for running a chat GPT server, huge amount of resources are required. And that resources they got it because they actually like say companies like Microsoft, they taken a you can say a bet that this will give them earning. So they are putting the money, and when it will not work, it will create a hype, ripple, and chaos in, say, academic institutions when teachers say, professors say that assignments are being copied by ChatGPT, and there is another application being developed, GPT-0 in Canada. That also will be sold that you can detect. And my son also tested that few words if you change, say ChatGPT generated text, say a very big text, some thousand words, 4 words in between if you change, then it gives that it is not AI generated. GPT-0 says that it is 100% authentic, like human generated. So that means those flaws are everywhere and it generates money. It also gives opportunity to other people,
Right.
but they have to find out that optimization of using the resources. Now they have money, but when the money will be exhausted, what they will do, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's true. That's another thing, these technologies to try to tell whether work is AI generated from text. These are not very good. They can be easily fooled.
Yeah, it is fun, of course fun.
Yeah, it's fun. To me, it's like it shouldn't be used for high risk or high stakes things. To me, it's almost more of a novelty. But I don't think people are being kicked out of schools because someone's using some thing and they say, hey, we think that your text is plagiarized and it actually isn't. So I think the problem that we're talking about with biometrics and deepfakes and even AI, to me, is really an abdication of human judgment for technology. And that's not really the place of technology.
Yes, the human society is now under challenge of finding out what is useful and what is not, and what to adopt more and what to use less. That is a challenge. So that determination, that answer may come when our children are taught to think logically. Like if children, like say, I visited the high school and its R&D advisor, he agreed that they have to create that artificial intelligence robotics lab because it is a force by the government and the boards that you have to introduce to high school these courses. But the student should be given that knowledge in a way that they can think logically. Their logical thinking part should not be stopped. I mean, they should continue to think and carry on.
Yes. The best. If it were the world according to you and everyone did anything you said, what would be your wish for privacy anywhere in the world, whether that be regulation, human behavior, or something in technology?
The regulation is there by the government. I don't like regulation. I support freedom. But there should be check by technology and human staffs that what is being done, because the number of citizens in the world is very large. Human staffs cannot do it. And if computer and digital techniques are used to control, means to regulate, so there will be error. And as you mentioned that some students are penalized, but that could be a error also. Like a particular authentic content also sometimes software will detect as a AI generated. So that means when regulation is done using automation, so there will be problem. And as a free citizen, I don't want any regulation. Means people should be given freedom of their body, their thinking. If we are not harming the other citizen, then it is okay. Privacy is actually something is having a problem because of the internet. Privacy content should be more progressive, like more propagating. Then I have to lose privacy. Somebody who wants complete privacy, there's a one person is there. I don't want to name. He used to work in Microsoft in Linux. Now he is not there. His account is very weakly in on LinkedIn and also Twitter. So he is private. He wants people to come to his own channels, like say in different particular platform. So that means propagation wise, he restricted, and his engagement and the supporters or the subscribers are also restricted. So privacy somebody wants means he or she is restricting his or her propagation.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show. I love your writing. I love people to follow you on LinkedIn. The work that you do is tremendous. And I love the fact that you are saying things that maybe aren't the mainstream, but probably should be, because I think technology impacts so much of our lives, and we need to know not only the good, but also the dangers, the risks that we take. So thank you so much, and I look forward to chatting with you soon.
Thank you so much, David, for giving me this opportunity. Thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Have a good day.
Okay, thanks. Bye.